All right, time for first class that I took of the 2022 year for college at 30-somethings for University of Massachusetts Global, UMass Global. And that class in the spring one semester is a thing called Operations Management, aka Supply Chain. The course code for this is MGTU315. The course instructor is a guy by the name of an experienced, wise, older man named Charles T. Muse. As professor, he was okay, and not the best, not the worst, but the thing that I really wish he would do a better job of is feedback for the individual assignments. Now, he gave feedback on, we had 2 group assignments that we had to do, and he did pretty good feedback on those, but the individual ones were like, there was nothing. It's kind of odd. And the discussion boards, he did pretty good with those. He would always respond to what the students post. For mine, usually he said, good job, and great example of this example, that sort of thing. But also he's a big stickler for the APA format. And APA format is, citing your sources, citations, reference page, that sort of thing too. Some students really struggled with APA, but it's something that is necessary when you're taking college courses. You have to know APA format. But if you don't, Purdue OWL, that's Purdue University, PURDUE, Purdue OWL, OWL, Online Writing Lab, is a great resource that I always go to double check my APA citations, that sort of thing. Okay, week number 1, again, 8-week course, talking about operations and supply chain foundations. This one, let's see. You always had discussion board assignments. Okay, the first one was just, introduce yourself. That's always standard for pretty much any online class. Introduce yourself, what's your current job, how far along you in your degree program. And now for the actual academic discussion board topics. You looked at a PowerPoint from Dr. Ekman on supply chain. Then you answered, what is a supply chain? What are the similarities between, you had 3 different diagrams to look at, and then what are the similarities and differences between the diagrams, and then why are supply chains important? And then for the other discussion board assignment, you watched a TED Talk video, and TED Talk videos are a great learning tool, and pretty much every online class you'll take, I can't think of one that does not have TED Talk videos as part of curriculum. Any online class, you'll have TED Talk videos to watch, and they're almost always very interesting. But this TED Talk video was by Anthony Goldblum, and he talked about the jobs we'll lose to machines and the ones we won't. Okay, and then the assignment for that was describe in 100 to 300 words any experience or background in operations or supply chain management. Can be as an employee or a consumer, and connect your experience to the textbook reads this week, which there were 3 chapters to read. And I should have said this in my tip video, but reading chapters, some courses, especially if you're taking an account or a finance course, to understand how to do the problems and the mathematics and transactions, yeah. For accounting class, yeah, you need to read the textbook, every single word for word. But other classes, most classes, as far as reading the chapters, is more of a, if you're really interested in the subject and want to learn all about it, go ahead. But otherwise, you can just kind of skim through the textbook, cherry pick some things, and, don't beat yourself up don't beat yourself up. You're like, oh, I only, I didn't read that chapter. You don't have to read everything word for word. Just skim through, and I mean, it's amazing with college courses how much, you'll have a 700-page textbook, right, and maybe 50 pages you actually is useful, right? A lot of gobbledygook. Okay, week 2. Let's see. Week 2 is supply chain design, and then social responsibility and sustainability. Now, in week 1, I had some pretty high hopes for this class that maybe I would actually learn about supply chain, because I really didn't know much. But honestly, after taking the course, I still don't know a whole lot. Because the problem is that this course, it just goes down. They should rename, instead of operation management, they should rename this class environmental topics in business or something, because it's just oh my gosh, you learn more about how not to be a polluter rather than how to run an efficient supply chain. But week 2, you had a TED Talk video by Steve Howard about let's go all in on selling sustainability. And let's see, okay, you had discussion board. Let's see. Discussion board assignment for this week was, what does supply chain design mean? And then there were a couple follow-up questions there. And then you had to watch one of the TED Talk videos. It could be on Stephen Howard's let's go all in on selling sustainability. Or you could watch about, logistics are local food blind spot. Or you could watch about, Bright Farms, a produce supply chain revolution. Let's see. The one that I watched, I believe, was about logistics, our local food blind spot, talking about how a lot of the big corporations, they can do a better job of getting food processed more efficiently in a supply chain if they team up with local farmers rather than going to these big, huge, conglomerate companies like Procter and Gamble, and that's, Unilever and that sort of thing. And also in week 2, the first big individual assignment was due. And this was, let me see what the assignment is here. Now you gotta sign in. Okay. Let me go to course information here and see. Okay, maybe they're in here. Okay. Individual assignment number 1, and this I think I got a 90 on out of 100. Hopefully it'll load. Let's see. Okay. You had to read a Harvard Business Review article about supplier diversity, and also a Dun & Bradstreet article about supplier diversity, and then develop a 2 to 3 page paper that explains and provides a recommendation for an existing supplier diversity program. And of course, this is 100% APA format, title page, reference pages, in addition to the 2 to 3 page typed 12-point font, double spaced, and all that stuff. And I think for this one, I was looking at one of the two articles. They talk about Coca-Cola's diversity program, so I just elaborated on that. And the neat thing with this professor is he gives you an actual outline of the paper. So you'll have 4 level 1 headings. Level 1 headings is an APA term. No, I'm not going to take time and talk about that. But you have your introduction, your analysis, recommendation, conclusion, and let's see, reference, analysis page, recommendation, and that sort of thing. Okay. Week number 3. Process management, facility layout, and logistics, distribution, and transportation. Okay, this was the week that you had your first team assignment. Okay, this was a PowerPoint presentation, and your PowerPoint presentation, let's see. Waiting on the computer to load. Okay, come on. There we go. All right. Okay, first, the professor assigns teams in week 2. So you're stuck with them. You're stuck with the people. Okay. PowerPoint 10 to 15 slides, and then you actually record the slides via Zoom. Okay, this first team assignment in week 3 was discussing corporate responsibility and sustainability. Include practical ways that a company has an opportunity to be more socially or environmentally responsible through logistics, distribution, and transportation. Must cover all 3 of those. You can add more topics if you like, but those are the big 3 there. My team did a company called Old Smoky Moonshine based out of the East Tennessee, the Great Smoky Mountains there, and talked about the topics of logistics, distribution, transportation, all under this whole environmental stuff, you know? Let's see. Week 3, your discussion board on that was, let's see. Oh, yeah, you have to choose a company to do for your individual assignments number 2 and number 3. And then the second part was looking at a PowerPoint presentation of comparing 2 COVID-19 vaccine processes. What are the strengths and weaknesses of the 2 processes? Which process would you choose? And I'm like, what in the world does that have to do with supply chain management? Anyway, this class is, oh my gosh. Okay, week 4, the first part of the discussion board was you viewed each team. There were 3 or 4 other teams in the group. You had to look at each team's PowerPoint and then answer the following questions. What is one thing you learned from the PowerPoint that you were surprised to learn? What is one thing that you could apply from the PowerPoint that you could use at your work or in your personal life? What is a similarity between your team's PowerPoint and the other team's PowerPoint? And let's see, and that was it for, well, that was actually a fairly light discussion board assignment for week 4. But the topic, we looked at more process management and quality control. So week 4 was a pretty light week. Week 5 is on global sourcing, procurement, and sales and operations planning. Okay. Let's see. And for the discussion board, you had... Okay, view a video and consider how it relates to procurement. Well, this was on how supply chain transparency can help the planet. Transparency is a lot of times you'll go to a grocery store and you go to a seafood counter and you order salmon or something. The problem is that a lot of times the grocery store does not have readily available the information on who caught the salmon, where it was caught, how many girlfriends did the male salmon have, and that sort of thing. No, the last question probably not, but the first two was legit. Okay, let's see. Then you had to explain what procurement was and how might procurement be different from a distribution company, such as Walmart or Costco, how that differs from a manufacturing company. Part 2 of the discussion board assignment was, and this was a heavy one, This one you needed 300 to 500 words. Okay, this was about why is sales and operations planning so hard. This article is pretty boring. Let's see. You acted as a procurement director for an organization. How would you implement the sales and operations plan and decide who attends the meetings, what the meeting outcomes are, and that sort of thing. Week number 6. Also in week 5, you had the second part of the team assignment number 2. That was another PowerPoint, but this one was on supplier relationship management. And you're focusing on sourcing, procurement, contracting, ordering, performance management, and partnering for profit, people, or planet, whatever that means. I will tell you that going in, most courses I've taken, like when I look at the syllabus and I see there's a team or group project due, I'm like, I panic. But actually for this course, our group was pretty proactive. We had a leader who really was very good at delegating things and making sure everything got done, and both assignments I think we got like a 90. I mean, the professor is pretty strict, but he was one of those professors where if you want a perfect score you really have to knock his socks off. So he, if you do a good job it'll just give you a 90 instead of 100. I think that's where it was coming from with that. Okay, week number 6. Okay, this is on inventory management. The discussion board for this one. Okay, the same thing from the other week. Looking at Teams PowerPoint, answering some follow-up questions. Pretty easy, but at the end of the week you had the individual assignment number 2 due. And actually, this assignment was only worth 120 points, and I was kind of burned out and decided not to do the assignment. But in case you want to know what the assignment was, it was basically like an outline for the final paper, the signature assignment. Basically an outline of we'll see. There we go. Yeah, you just do an outline for, outline. It's pretty comprehensive. Okay, so basically, and I'll go ahead and talk about the final paper too, because they both blend together. You have to pick a company. It can be a company for either a product or a service. Now, it can't be just any company. No, it can't be Walmart or McDonald's or Amazon. No. The professor wants something that had sales between $500,000 and $500 million. And you'll when I researched this, I was like, okay, can't do Walmart, can't do McDonald's. And I start looking around companies in my own area, like, what about the fresh market? No, the fresh market made more than $500 million last year. Or Syngenta, it's an agriculture company. No, they also made like $900 million. No, you can't do that. You can't do Mack trucks. They also. So finally, I start thinking smaller, and I think there's a fast food restaurant that started in Florida that is starting to grow throughout the Southeast. It's called PDQ Chicken. It's a chicken place to sell chicken tenders, chicken nuggets, chicken sandwiches. Very similar to Chick-fil-A. So I look at there, and they're only like 40 or 50 million in revenue. So the purpose of the paper is to show how the entire supply chain is used. And you have all these topics. Overview of the management plan. What the industry information is. Demographics, design of the supply chain, supplier relationship management chain, production, packaging, transportation, cost of goods sold, customer relation management, and sustainability, and the corporate responsibility plan. Now, fortunately for this project, I used documentary called Super Size Me 2. You're probably familiar with the first Super Size Me, the original Super Size Me. That was a documentary. Morgan Spurlock, he would eat nothing but McDonald's for 30 days straight. Okay. That was filmed about 20 years ago. Well, about 5 years ago, he goes back and wants to make. 5 years ago, Morgan makes a sequel, and he wanted to open his own fast food restaurant. So it starts, talking about the marketing, product development, going through research, and that sort of thing. He decides on a chicken restaurant. So the name of this documentary is Super Size Me 2 Holy Chicken. That's what it's called. And, it talks about but the good thing about, I was able to get so much information on the supply chain for chicken, right? How they're farmed and everything like that. And, a little bit of information about Chick-fil-A and McDonald's, Wendy's, their chicken sandwich, that sort of thing. So it really helped out. And actually, it was a long assignment. I mean, this was a 10-page paper, and it took me how many hours? It took me like 10 hours to do the whole thing over 2 days. It was I had 2 days off from work, and I used up most of the time to this daggone paper. But at the end of the day, I got a 90%, and this was worth 260 points. So yeah, this is a biggie as far as points go. Okay, what did we look at here? So talk about that. Week number 7. Theory of constraints, logistics, warehouse, and inventory. Okay, we did watch this video by Bettina Warburg about how the supply chain will radically transform the economy. Okay. The discussion board was read an article about the you look at a presentation on inventory, and you have to think about what the most expensive inventory that you have in your house is. And actually mine is have a lot of DVDs. I have a lot of DVDs from PBS, Rick Seaback, and big documentary maker. A few years ago, ran a Black Friday sale of Rick Seaback's out of Pittsburgh, so his PBS station WQED has all these cool documentaries about Pittsburgh, that area. Also a lot of national documentaries, Shore Things, a hot dog program, great old amusement parks. So I bought like almost the whole entire collection because these DVDs are usually like $20 each, but on Black Friday I was able to get them, or Cyber Monday, Cyber Monday, I was able to get them for three DVDs for $25. Great deal, right? It only cost me like $200 for the whole collection. It would have cost me like $6,000 or something crazy. So I saved a lot of money. Okay, so we had to read an article about theory of constraints, and then look at this TED Talk again. I talked about that from the blockchain, right? Then you have to write a skit about theory of constraints, recognize a problem at work. Mine was with online grocery. Sometimes we get customers who come into the parking lot, things get backed up, a lot of volume. How can we manage that? Okay, and the final week. Now, the biggest thing that I did not like about this course was, of course, you have to do the big 10-page paper. It's worth 260 points, almost three other grades. But the paper itself was due on Wednesday evening instead of a Sunday evening. So yeah, this is why you always want to look ahead, at least look a week or two ahead, and be like, oh boy, Wednesday. So instead of like, 4 whole days are chopped off. But no, fortunately I was able to manage this. I was like, okay, paper's due Wednesday night. I have Tuesday and Wednesday. I'll try to get a lot. I'll go as hard as I can on Tuesday, and then whatever's left over I'll do for Wednesday. So yeah, but week 8 we finished up with operations management from a strategic viewpoint. And basically we did a discussion board assignment, was on this thing about the power of believing that you can improve. A TED Talk by Carol Dweck. And let's see. Okay, and basically first thing I do was draw a supply chain. I don't know anything about drawing on a computer, so I just did a little PowerPoint presentation. Put images on PowerPoint. There you go. The professor actually loved it, by the way. It's like, shoo, thank you, Lord. I don't know anything about drawing on a computer, and I don't want to know either. And the second part, the discussion board, was to review this TED Talk on growth mindset. That was the Carol Dweck thing, and apply what you still hope to become with what you have learned in this class. Okay. And consider one thing you have learned in this class. Write 100 to 300 words about how you will apply one of the concepts from this class. So, this course, daggone it, I missed out on a B by 5 points. I got a 79.5. A C plus, right? Could have gotten a B if I if I didn't skip a discussion board. I would have gotten a B, but oh well. As far as a useful course, not really. I mean, everything you could everything that you could need about this. I can't talk today. Everything that you need to know about a supply chain, you can probably learn in like an hour. You don't need an 8-week course, but because, the bachelor's degree in business, it is what it is, and you have to take this course, and oh my gosh, did I learn anything? Not really. I'm glad we had some TED Talk videos, because otherwise this course would be so dry. Drier than a burnt grilled chicken breast. Oh, on a Weber grill. Yeah, go broilers. Grills. Bleh. Anyway. That is all for now. Thanks for joining me on this academic edition of Right Eats Right politics.